And on this note, I would like to call up Rabbi Yoske Greenberg, Shliach of the Rebbe in Alaska, to Farbrengen a little bit with us about the concept of the Nesius of the Rebbe and how the inyan of a Rebbe is an inyan nitzchi le'elam v'ed mamish. Rabbi Greenberg.
L'chaim, l'chaim. Rabbi Shem Tov is here, so I want to remind Rabbi Shem Tov that the happiest day that we had was the day of Yud Gimel Kislev. Rabbi Shem Tov came to let us know that the Rebbe will not have to go to testify in court, which probably it was for us, the Bochum, a more happier day than Hey Teves. There was a Farbrengen upstairs in 770. Rabbi Shem Tov remembers. This was the biggest simcha that we had, much more than Hey Teves, because this was the day that we were assured. We didn't even know at the time what Rabbi Shem Tov later said, that the Rebbe said about him testifying, as mit aftrachten was wie die Bochum will cooking of them, which Rabbi Shem Tov said it, and then he denied it, and then he said it again. The Rebbe said, wie die Bochum will cooking of them. We didn't even know that, but we felt it. So I want to thank Rabbi Shem Tov and Yashar Koyach Rabbi Shem Tov for Devarim Everter, and we should be able to continue for many years to hear from him, to be inspired from him. And as our MC, Rabbi Moshe Goraya said, I also got a call from Rabbi Kunin about the Indian from the Sforim in Rusland, which is very important, so therefore I would like to start with that. Everyone knows Shabbos Shmeis, Tovshin Memches, 2 weeks after the first Hey Teves, the Shona Bo Kvon, and 6 weeks after the books came back, was the first time the Rebbe spoke about the books in Russia. And the Rebbe said, I still remember that Sikha, because for whatever reason, it was a very unique. The Rebbe's machzeh, the Rebbe's ponim was very unique in that Sikha. This was a Sikha when the Rebbe spoke about the 2 shluchim who went to Russia, for the 3 shluchim who went to Russia for the books. 2 of them were the Farbrengen. And after the Sikha, the Rebbe told him to say l'chaim. And by that Sikha, the Rebbe said something unique and unusual. The Rebbe said, as benegayet to the Sforim, it's Tovshim Memches, darf man gehen bis Mesiras Nefesh. Just to understand, in comparison, there was a Yid who used to do, everyone knows him, in printing the Tanyas all over the world. And he did major nachasuach to the Rebbe by that. Imam is printed everywhere in the world. He used to come with 60 Tanyas, 70 Tanyas. And then in Memches, Memtes, later he asked the Rebbe, can we print Tanyas in Russia? The Rebbe didn't answer. He asked again, can we print Tanyas in Russia? The Rebbe didn't answer. In Tovshin Nun Aleph, this is 3 years after Memches, he had the schus to bring to the Rebbe 60 Tanyas. And the Rebbe wanted him to come into his room. And then he felt that it was a Eis Rotzen. He said to the Rebbe, can we drucken Tanyas in Rusland? And the Rebbe turned out to him, du weißt, was is Russland? Do you know what Russia is? You'll come to Russia, the first thing in the airport, they'll arrest you. And for 6 months, will not know where you are. And on and on. The Rebbe didn't let him. Printing Tanya was a mifza for Rebbe, Choshev mifza. No. Later on, the Rebbe gave him permission. But the Sforim, 3 years earlier in Memches, the Rebbe said, I've gained of Mesiras Nefesh. And the Rebbe said, as everyone knows, Rabbi Kunin, Rabbi Levin, and Rabbi Mindel to Russia. As we see here, we always know, Magid Dvorov LeYankev. Ma she'u eise emer l'Yisrael lases. The Rebbe, when it came to Tovshim Memhei, he went on Mesiras Nefesh for the Sforim. As Bochem, right after it Beis Tammuz, after the Farbrengen, we did Shmire. Right next to the Rebbe's room, Ganei Tachna, the steps between the Rebbe's floor and the upstairs, the second floor. And we heard from the Rebbe's room, those 3 weeks that we did Shmire, how the Rebbe was hosting, was coughing so hard that we couldn't listen to it, because the Rebbe lost his breath. He was going on and on. If you listen to the Sikha from the Zvov Tammuz, Tov Shemem Hey, when the Rebbe spoke about the Yechidus Klolis, about the Nachla that the Rebbe had in Israel, that someone sold it against the Rebbe's permission, and the Rebbe said, the Agmas Nefesh and the Tsar that was for selling this Nachla, and therefore the Rebbe said, from the money that was sold this Nachla, we're going to buy a better Nachla in Israel. And the better Nachla was the 770 in Kfar Chabad. So the Rebbe started to cough at that Yechidus so hardly that I never heard like this. Only when we were from the Rebbe's room, he lost his breath, he couldn't continue, he tried to clear his throat, he couldn't continue. He was on and on and on. He was talking, screaming, and he couldn't continue. That's the Agmas Nefesh the Rebbe had. The Rebbe literally went on Mesiras Nefesh. His own health, he wanted the Rebbetzin to go to testify, which everyone knows how the Rebbetzin was running away from being in public. And here the Rebbe Dafke wanted the Rebbetzin to go. The Agmas Nefesh the Rebbetzin had. The Rebbe went all the way on Mesiras Nefesh for this forum. Shabbos Pinchas, those who had the schus to be that Farbrengen, because many people went to the camps, and it was a very small crowd, and the Rebbe spoke as if he's sitting in the dining room with his family. The Rebbe normally used to have their hands under the table. The Rebbe put his hand up, and the way the Rebbe was talking to us and explaining it, the Rebbe said, I have a good friend of mine who said to me, don't take to heart. I'm worried for your health. And the Rebbe said, what should I do? I'm not Meir Shalet al Alev in this Indian. I do take to heart. And he said to the Rebbe said, the Rebbe doesn't have to share with us, but the Rebbe did share with us for a reason. The Rebbe said, he said to me, what about the honor of Lubavitch, Kavod Lubavitch, Kavod from the Rabbeim? The Rebbe said, I look in the Shulchan Aruch, I go to the oil, and I think this is Kavod Lubavitch. That means the Rebbe gave place for it, but that's why he said it to everyone. Because the Rebbe went for this forum on Mesiras Nefesh all the way. This forum overrides Kavod Lubavitch, overrides the Rebbe's health, the Rebbetzon's health. It overrides everything. Why? Why is this forum so important? As the Rebbe said right in the beginning, in Beis Tammuz, this forum is a shtik leben for Rebbe. And later on, the Rebbe explained more, Bariches, several times, Sai Shabbos, Shabbos Vayikro, when it was the day after Beis Nissen, and the Rebbe told the story. The Rebbe Rashab said, Ich gehe in Himmel, the Ksovim was a Chai, Rebbe Gona mentioned that before. And the Rebbe said many explanations about it, but at this time the Rebbe said the explanation that hier gehe in Himmel, the Rebbe Rashab said, I'm going to heaven and I'm leaving you the books. It's obviously, if he's going to heaven, the Ksovim are here. But the Rebbe explained, as not only, always the Rebbe used to say, as ich gehe in Himmel, I'm going to heaven, is when you learn my chassidus, you're connected with me. But the Rebbe said here another word. If I go in Himmel, I leave the Ksovim. In the Ksovim, the Rebbe said then, and later in the Shmais, when the Rebbe sent the Shluchim, that it says to the Baal Shem Tov, that in every book that a tzaddik has, or every yid, there is a nitzitz gedusha in the book that is shaykh to the sheirish of his neshama. And by a tzaddik, when he learned in his book, the book becomes his gedusha. So when the Rebbe told the story, so when the Rebbe told the story of the Frierdiker Rebbe as a little kid, he saw how the Rebbe Rashab went into the Rebbe Marash's room to his Cheder Chides, and he read a pidyon, and he acted the same way he acted when he was alive, because the Rebbe's room and the Rebbe's table and the Rebbe's chair is mamish the Rebbe's leb dorten, as the Rebbe said in Beis Tammuz, that he lives in the room, he lives in his house, v'chulu. So the Rebbe explained why this forum is so important, because the Rebbe Rashab said, Ich gehe in Himmel, the Ksovim lo zechayich. The Ksovim are the physical nitzchias of the Rebbe in the world, not just his Torah, but his physical handwriting, what he wrote in his books that he learned, they are the nitzchias of the Rebbe in the world. So we see the unbelievable keiches that the Rebbe put. Anybody who watched the Rebbe's Farbrengen, the Beis Tammuz, and Tezvov Tammuz, the Yechides, and the Shabbos Pinchos, we saw the keiches that the Rebbe put in, and the Agmas Nefesh the Rebbe had. Everyone knows what happened later in Mevov, in order that the Rebbe suffered on his foot. We never saw the Rebbe showing his pain. The Rebbe had such pain that he couldn't imagine Tovshim Mevov, 1986, the Rebbe should say Maftir upstairs in Zal. The Rebbe should daven Shachris, Musaf upstairs in Zal. It's things that have not been seen for 25 years. The Rebbe should daven Shabbos upstairs in Zal. It wasn't the Yuds. It's just unbelievable. The Rebbe Poshet had such pain and he couldn't move. And we saw the Agmas Nefesh and the Mesirus Nefesh and the Keiches, just what the Rebbe put in, the Zetlach. I remember seeing the Rebbe coming back from the oil, sitting with Rabbi Krinsky for an hour and a half in the car, speaking to him. It was just unbelievable, the Keiches the Rebbe put it in. And all of this was for one reason, because the chshivas of the Sforim, as the Rebbe explained, that the Sefer and the Ksavim from the Rabbeim, this is the Nitzchius, Begashmius, that the Rabbeim are in this world. And then when it came Hey Teves, the Giluim that we saw from the Rebbe, in all the sichas from Hey Teves, from the first sicha, night after night, the way the Rebbe spoke, and the Chavivos, like Asora B'Teves, when the Rebbe said that a special thank you to everybody who came to celebrate with him, with his simcha. We saw this Chavivos. The Rebbe even asked by the Laren several shluchim if their wives came also. The Rebbe spoke by the sicha that the Tule, the Gavre, the Tule, the Nashe, they all came together, the Wasser, Farbrengen zusammen, Tevle, Mishte Tom. It was such a Chavivos and such a riches. It was unbelievable. And then the last night, when Kvayochel, the Rebbe spoke about that now Tevle, Mishte Tovim means to learn Mishnah and Gemara, that the Rebbe said, Azeh Mat Geret, the first night of Shiva Semeya Hekev, the night of Hey Teves. The Rebbe himself called it Shiva Semeya Hekev. By us, the Bachim was Shiva Semeya Mishnah. The Rebbe called it Shiva Semeya Hekev as we spoke the first night of Hey Teves. And then the Rebbe said, now it's time to prepare for Yud Shvat. But we saw Bam Rebbe such a gilui that was amazing. And this is also a gdome to our Indian that people don't pay attention too much. And that is what happened, the Indian nifla that happened on Beis Kislev. Everyone talks Beis Kislev. Everyone knows the Rebbe was very upset. We the Bochim, we're standing outside. And it was not even a time of Seder. The Rebbe went to the oil. It was 2 o'clock. It was after Seder. The Rebbe came out. It was such Agmas Nefesh. It was unbelievable. But nobody talks about what happened, the unbelievable answer that the Rebbe gave to Agudas Sidei Chabad on Beis Kislev in the morning, which I think we need to study that answer. This is a Yisaid in the ganzen Indian, what was the Sforim all about and the Nitzchius from the Sforim. Everyone knows Aguch was not Bochem, was Aguch, Ältere Eden. They thought, Beis Kislev, after this all Hey Teves, and after there wasn't again an appeal, and finally Chafei Cheshvan the second did not say, and finally it's final. So what else can we tell? Obviously, they wrote to the Rebbe a whole letter. I'm sure Rabbi Shem Tov is the one who wrote the letter. As wir geht machen a ganzen Parad, all the schools will come, and all the Anash, and it geht sein with music, and a ganzen Tumult, the Sforim are coming back. Why not? And then that morning came out the answer from the Rebbe, a shocking answer to everyone. And the answer was, V'kivon she'ato iye bekiyum. Since now it's going to be bekiyum. It's going to be fulfilled, strong. U'b'menuchas ha'nefesh ve'aguf. Everlasting. U'b'menuchas ha'nefesh ve'aguf. There'll be with menuchas ha'nefesh, will be no agmas nefesh, no tzar v'chulu. A seder b'zeh, what's the seder? She'inosnu belachash, that they should be brought in belachash. V'kol anal belachash, quietly. And the Rebbe ends the meine, v'kal lehovin. V'kal lehovin. V'kal lemevin. All right. maybe. As young Bochum, you have to understand me, but I was 20 years old. As young Bochum, went through the entire Gvas Nefesh from the day of Beis Tammuz, doing Shmira, seeing the Rebbe Odem Mevov, worrying for the Rebbe. We put pressure on Maskiras. We sent Label Pastritsky that tell Label Groner if he's not going to say, we will say to the Rebbe not to go downstairs. We were living with the Rebbe for every night. We went to the court case every night. We were in total shock. We were like, what happened? The Rebbe's not happy. It was not a total victory. Why not? What's wrong with him? Even though, yes, it Beis Teves, the Rebbe said, Tev Mishta Tomei, the Mishnah and Gemara, with all the good explanations. But Lepoel Mamish, nobody expected such an answer. Even not Chavri Aguchu, but not Bochem. They were already in Geleit, in their 40s, their 50s. Everyone was in shock. The Rebbe said, V'kal Ovin, to us it was V'kosher Ovin. It was a V'kal. We couldn't understand what's going on. And then, of course, what happened later, the shock that we have, and the Rebbe screamed on us like that. I mean, such a mas nefesh, we were so broken, you can't even imagine. And then, of course, because it was such a shock to the system, that Shabbos, the Rebbe shared with the Olam something that the Rebbe never said such things. The Rebbe said, wat mir gesagt, for was habe ich gebezert? I was told, why was I so upset on the Bochem? They only want to celebrate with your simcha. And the Rebbe said, I will not say the Lashonis, I was told. I will not say the Lashonis, I was told. Like he was told more. He will not say the expressions that he was told. Why was he so upset on the Bochem? They only want to celebrate with you. I mean, and Zalman Guraya and Leibel Vistritsky said then that this is it's only the Rebbetzin who said that. That can be, who is going to tell the Rebbe Friday night about this? And as we all know, later, of course, everyone is hiding their stories, but finally Shleib Vistritsky came out and said the story that he was a Bochen Terasemes, and he was an American boy. He heard Chafei Cheshvan, he jumped with his father's credit card, he bought a ticket, he came to New York, and in Westach, everything was fine, he came. But then, when this whole story happened, his father was screaming on him, you made such a mas nefesh, go back home. And he said, oh, Daddy, I just came for a few days. No, go back. Every Friday night, Leil Bistritsky used to go into the Rebbetzin, to the library. When the Rebbe used to daven Shabbos in Shul, he used to go into the Rebbetzin. And the Rebbe used to ask about every kid. Finally, she came to Shlomi, knew how's Shlomi. He said, he made such a mas nefesh to the Rebbe. So the Rebbe said, label, go easy. In other places, when Bochim want to make troubles, they go watch, they do other things. Don Lubavitch, the fun of the Bochim is to be with the Rebbe. It's okay, go easy on him. So Leil Bistritsky said that's the Rebbe is making. But the Rebbe didn't back off. The Rebbe was still saying, sie wollen sich freuen, so the freuen zwischen den Storim. Even though 2 o'clock was after the It doesn't matter. The Rebbe didn't back off, but the fact that the Rebbe shared with us, why the Rebbe shared this, I don't think there is in all 40 years of the Nesiah, the Rebbe should say something. The Rebbe told them, why it's a Beis. There was? But maybe, but I don't remember such a sikha. But here the Rebbe shared clearly. However, the Rebbe does say v'kal la'ovin. That means that the Rebbe gives us a koyach to learn that minor and to understand why this minor is so important. Not only it was not a shlila, not only it was something unpleasant, the opposite. This minor is the yesed of the ganze inyan, what happened on Beis Kislev, the Yom Abdus, as it says here, Yom Abdus, the true Yom Abdus, Chag Abdus, the true day when the Sforim came back. To understand this minor, I just want to share first a story from the Rabbeim, which many know, but people don't pay attention. A story that happened with the Tzemach Tzedek. We all know that the Rebbe's father, Reb Levi Yitzchok, before the Chasana, in the telegram and the letters, the Rebbe's father told the Rebbe that he and the Rebbetzin are like the Tzemach Tzedek, and his Rebbetzins have the same names and everything. The Rebbe even said about himself a few times. The Rebbe said about the names in the Yuds, what name to give for children. The Rebbe said, other von Reben dem Schwer oder von Tzemach Tzedek. And the Rebbe said about himself once, as a unical von Tzemach Tzedek, was a nomen, famous. So there is an amazing story from the Tzemach Tzedek. Everybody knows there are two versions of the story, one in Teira Sholem, one in Atomim, and each version has more details, but it's very important, just in short, I'll say it, very important to understand the story because it's a yesed in the ganzen Indian. And the story is that the Rebbe's and Rivka, the Rebbe Rashab's mother, had a dream on Yud Kislev that the Mittel Rebbe came to her with her mother, and the Mittel Rebbe said, you should write a Sefer Torah, and you will have a good son, and don't forget about my name. And then she woke up, her child was sick, and she forgot about it. To Yud Kislev, they came again in a dream, and that time came also the Alter Rebbe, and the Mittel Rebbe said again, you'll have a good son, and you should give him a name. Don't forget about my name. And the Alter Rebbe said, Omen ken yemer Hashem. And she woke up, she said, Omen. The Rebbe Marash said, what do you say, Omen? So she said, I have a story, and I'll tell you later. So anyway, she came to Rebbe Marash, she told him the story, the Marash said, Tzemach Tzedek. And Tzemach Tzedek said, yeah, we should start, immediately do it. And Tzemach Tzedek said, but the Schreiben in the Sefer Torah should be bechashoi. Okay, it wasn't such a shock to the system. And then came the bris of the Rebbe Rashab. He was born, there was a bris, and all the Chassidim came from all over. Tzemach Tzedek was already a Rebbe for so many years. Hat gemacht schon a ganze Sude mit Alts. In the middle of the night, the Rebbe Chaim Mushke hears that Tzemach Tzedek calls his Mishores. So she sent her daughter to see what's going on. So the Mishores said that Tzemach Tzedek said to go to the Rebbe Marash and tell him that there will be no bris tomorrow. So she was all in shock, and she said to her daughter in Teira Sholem, it said, he probably had already a dream, something. But still, she stood, she said, no, she's not agreeing. But she, all Chassidim came, and so it's going, it's a talimud chus for us, the Brochem. At the Rebbe, she said, no, what says, all Chassidim are here, but she gekocht alle essen. No, it's going to be a bris. So Tzedek said, I know the din, and the bris will be when the Eibishter will, and it's not going to be tomorrow. And then he said again, back and forth, 3 times. So they sent the shliach, and she said to stop him, and not to send. So they said to the shliach, okay, don't go, but the bris will not be tomorrow. The pale, there was a whole bris, and Tzemach Tzedek came, and they put the baby on the Rebbe Rashab and the Tzemach Tzedek's laps. It was a Sunday, and the male was there, and the kid is yellow, and all the Moedim came to see him, Mikenesh Machen the bris. The Rebbe Marash went outside, he fainted, and there was no bris. A month later, the baby was yellow for the whole month. And then when it came the time for the bris, that Tzemach Tzedek said to the Rebbe Marash, at the bris, he gave zayin bechashoi. To the point that in Teira Sholem it says, the Rebbe Marash begged that his brother, the Maril, should be allowed to go in. And Tomim says that later all the brothers begged. And so 10 people, 15 people, that's it. So in Minyonim it says, and the Rebbe Tzemach Tzedek said, as luches shniis nitnu bechashoi, that the second luches were giving in secret. The first luches was a ganze parade, all the Eden was standing there. But the second was bechashoi, and the Tzemach Tzedek said, and of them it says, le'yomushu mipicho umpi zaracho umpi zera zaracho omar Hashem me'ato ba'adel. And as the Gemara says, the Rebbe brings in the Sikha in Chav Cheshem Tov Shemem, as le'yamushu mipicho, when you have you study Torah and your children study Torah and your grandchildren study Torah, so the Gemara says, Torah mechazeres, achar chsani shelo, the Torah comes back to its home, that will be nitzchi forever, that from your children will always continue the Torah. But Tzemach Tzedek says that the Rebbe Marash, why it should be bechashoi, why it should be quiet, because it's going to be nitzchi. In the Kutei Torah in Azinu, there is a Maimed that Alter Rebbe explains what's the inyan from Luches Shniyas. What's the difference between Luches Shniyas and Luches Rishonos? Alter Rebbe says, Amir de Kavod, The Luchas Rishenes were from Almedis Galia, from Chitzenis Eilemes. Therefore, they were in a big rush, a big tumult, a big parade, but they were not Niskayim. They were broken. The Luchas Shniyes were from Almedis Kassia, from the non-revealed worlds, from the inner worlds, the secret worlds. And therefore, it was Nitzchi, it was forever. Because it comes from Pnimis Alev, which is Bechashoy. So when you learn that story, we could explain, we could try to understand the Meine what the Rebbe gave Beis Kislev in the morning to Agudas Siddur Chabad, to Rabbi Shem Tev, and his Chaverim in Agudas Siddur Chabad. This Meine is a Yesed. Not only that the Rebbe was not happy, as we thought as little kids, but fakert, the Rebbe was very happy. And the Rebbe was telling us in the Meine, there's a reason why he wanted to be Bechashoy. Just like the Tzemach Tzedek wanted to be Bechashoy, the Bris V'Rem Rashab. There is a reason. And what is the Loshen? Sha'ato, Kivan Sha'ato Iye Bekiyum. We all know the word Kiyum, Kiyum Shtores. The Rebbe said in Farbrengen, Lech Lecha Lamed Beis, the Rebbe spoke about what's the Meile from a star, Shiyotzor of Iru. The Rebbe said many times of that in it. That every star is a takeoff of Pitera. But you never know. Maybe there'll be a Iru. Maybe there'll be some appeal against the star. But if there was a star, Shiyotzor of Iru, the people came and made complaints against the star that's not against a contract. And then was Niskayim Bebezdin, that star is Nitzchi. That star can never be any Iru against that. Kiva Sha'ato I Bekiyum. There was a court case. And then there was a Danotza Hey Teves, which was like Luchas Rishenes. It was a big parade with the ganzen Tanzen, with everything. But what happened after Hey Teves? There was again an appeal. There were terrible Agmas Nefesh from that. As we all know, the words the Rebbe said, Vayakal Pekude, the Rebbe said, Mizal Lernen, Mizal Drucken, to print the Maime Reishis Geim Amolek, and the Rebbe said, Rabbi Krinsky, Meotzetom et Amoleken. It was horrible Agmas Nefesh. That's when the Rebbe said, to give it over, that he gives over the court case to the Shluchim. And then came Beis Kislev. So the Rebbe says, now, Kivan Sha'ato Iye Bekiyum, that now it's a star Sheyotzal of Iru, and it's going to be Kiyum, it's going to be like Luchas Shniyes, it's going to be Bechashoy. And then the Rebbe add, B'mluchas HaNefesh V'Aguf, which the Rebbe refers to the Agmas Nefesh, the horrible Agmas Nefesh he had, and he says, now, it's going to be Bikish Yankev Leike B'Shalve. The Rebbe says, Shabbos Pinchas, Tavshim Memhei, the Bikish Yankev Leike B'Shalve, Kofatzal B'Rugze Shel Yosef. The Rebbe says, in the Dafke in the letzte Jahren, and then the Rebbe immediately said, von the Chsidim, Dafke in the letzte Jahren, the later years, is now, is geworden the Rugze Shel Yosef. I don't know why. So the Rebbe says in Meine, and now Bim Luchas HaShaguf, now it's ending the Sagmas Nefesh, Bim Luchas HaShaguf. And the Rebbe said the word Bekiyum, which reminds us how the Rebbe spoke about the Rebbetzin, as we saw in the video, that the Rebbe said, B'Shabbos Truma, the famous Sikha from Cheshboine Shel Eilam, the Rebbe spoke about the future after Gimel Tammuz. In that Sikha, the Rebbe mentioned the story of the Rebbetzin, which is the only story the Rebbe said right after the Shiva about the Rebbetzin. And the Rebbetzin said that the Tate und the Sforim Balange zu Chsidim, and the Rebbe ended, V'kein Yokum, it's the same Loshen Bekiyum, that just in Ites Kislev, the Alter Rebbe Dafke went with Tumes Soilam. Everyone knows the story that the Baditchever complained to the Alter Rebbe why he had to go. And the Alter Rebbe writes in his letter, the Baditchever said, you can't say Bavoras HaMetzach, you could move your hand over your forehead and the whole Peterburg will go in fire. And the Alter Rebbe answered that he wanted Dafke to go to Peterburg, just like Yaakov Avinu went to Esau with the Matones, because the purpose is that Umm should also, they should be the ones to understand Elokus. V'yedu Mitzrayim Kani Hashem, that they should understand it. And therefore the Rebbe wanted Dafke to go in court, that the Rebbetzin should say, everyone knows, Rabbi Krinsky said a few times that there was a way maybe to save the Rebbetzin from going, and the Rebbe said no. He wants the Rebbetzin to go. And we all know that Agmas Nefesh the Rebbetzin had. But the Rebbe wanted the Rebbe should go and testify, and it should be the judge should hear what the Rebbetzin says, that the Rebbe belongs to Chassidim, and they should, Yisraelim should say, and the Rebbe said, V'chein Yokum, because they said it. And as the Manichim who wrote the Sikha, everyone knows that the Sikha for Cheshbein Shalelam, the Rebbe asked to bring in him for a goy. And Rabbi Yael was not happy with that. And he said to be mishtamet from giving it in. But they were afraid if the Rebbe will ask for it, they have to have it ready. So they had ready the Sikha. But they never gave it in. The Rebbe asked again, and then he never asked for it. And that Sikha, the Manichim wrote that why the Rebbe connected the Cheshbein Shalelam, the future of Lubavitch after Gimel Tammuz with the Rebbetzin, that's the Rebbe was saying that the Rebbetzin had gepeilt when she said, die Wörter and V'chein Yokum was gepeilt as Israel, am just bei Alter Rebbe in Tes Kislev, that even they understood as in Nitzchim. So when you read the story from the Tzemach Tzedek with the Rem Rashab, what is the next part of the Meine? A Seder Bazehu, therefore the Rebbe says to Aguch, what should be the Seder, how the books should come? Sheinosnu belachash. Now everybody who knows Hebrew knows, what do you mean Sheinosnu? The books are being brought. There should be Sheyovium belachash. Sheyachnisum to the library belach. What means Sheinosnu? It's very clear. The Loshen is Sheinosnu. This mamish the Loshen from Luchas Shni Shenitnu. You can't even argue with that. This mamish often a Loshen. Sheinosnu belach. The Rebbe says, as Azevi Luchas Shni, he wants that to be Nitzchi. And that's why the Rebbe came out when he saw the Bochem don't get it. And the Rebbe had a chashash that maybe the Bochem will be outside. So the Rebbe screamed because the Rebbe says, I'm doing it for you. You don't understand. Don't play with me. Just get in the Zal. This has to be b'chashai. If the Tzemach Tzedek said that nobody is allowed to be at the bris, is nobody is allowed to be. It has to be b'chashoi. And as Rabbi Grona said before, and you could see in the video, there were few Chavrei Agur, Rabbi Shem Tov, Rabbi Krinsky, the Maskirus, and they were dancing there quietly. Exactly the way the Rebbe wanted. It should be b'chashoi. And the Rebbe saw the Bochem don't get it. I mean, the Rebbe write a zettel in the morning, the Bochem should have listened. But you have to understand that it was so hard to understand it. If the Rebbe in Tverlei couldn't get it, and she said it's Epet Gecholimt, so what do you want from the Bochem? And I'm not trying to justify ourselves. We should have listened to the Rebbe, of course, but still, even Aguch couldn't understand it. And Lepoel, the Rebbe ausgeführt exactly what he wanted. When the swarm came back, nobody was outside. Nobody, not a soul. And who was there? Only Chavrei Aguch. Maybe there was a minion. That's it. And they were dancing quietly inside, saying L'chaim quietly, exactly the way the Rebbe wants. And Derech Hagav, the Loshen that Tzemach Tzedek said, Le'yamushu, Mepi Zaracho, Pizera Zaracho, took no, Bepashtos, it means the Rebbe Rasha, because he's an Einikol with Tzemach Tzedek. But the Rebbe in Chov Cheshvan Tov Shimem, the famous Farbrengen about Tichet Mimim, the Rebbe said, why the Rebbe Rasha waited till the Chassan of the Frierdiker Rebbe to announce, to establish Tichet Mimim. And he said, why he waited? Because by the Chassan there was a possibility for an Einikol. For 3 generations. And he explained Beferish. And he said, the first generation, Bonim, Le'emusha Zaracho, the second generation, Zera Zaracho, and he said, Bnei Bonim, and that's when it started for Tzamar Eschutz. So he waited till there was the possibility, the Yecheles for grandchildren, that's the Rebbetzin and the Rebbe, but then he established Techmim, which we see what the Tzemach Tzedek meant, by Pashtus, Ma'atov Adelam meant the Nitzchius of the Rabbeim. But there is more to it. The Rebbe is the 3rd generation of the Rebbe Nishma Seiden. But here there is obviously a klotz kashe. Why the Rebbe said the Loshen Belachash? What's Belachash? In every way, the Tzemach Tzedek said Bechashoi, which means in private, in quiet. Everywhere you look in the Medrash, it says Bechashoi. Luchas Shni is Bechashoi. What's the Loshen Belachash? What's warft sich in the Egen? Where it says Belachash. It says wegen Boruch Shem Mechusel and Avoid we say Belachash. So Chassidus is being explained. Why do we? There are many biurim. Why we say Boruch Shem Mechusel and Avoid Belachash? Shema Yisrael we say loud. Boruch Shem we say Belachash. Why? So Chassidus is masbir. There is a mile in Boruch Shem that there is a Shema Yisrael. What is the mile? Everyone knows the Chassidus always says, Shema Yisrael is Yichud Eloi, Baruch Shem is Yichud HaTorah. Void and Echad b'chiluf asvan. So officially it means that Baruch Shem is an alor dargah. But then Chassidus is masbir, there is a Meile in Baruch Shem, there isn't a Shema Yisrael. What is the Meile? That in Baruch Shem it says Leilam Void. Shema Yisrael, doesn't say Leilam Void. The Nitzchius is only in Baruch Shem. So Chassidus is masbir that Shem Kved Malchusei is Yichud HaTorah, which is the Gimel Elam is Bri Yitzira Asiyah. But Leilam Void is in Elam Hazeh, where you don't see the Yichud HaTorah. There is no Giluim, it's Cheshach. And when you are Mevar Elam Hazeh in Dire Betachtenim, you are Mamshich, the ultimate Nitzchius Leilam Void, from Havai Im Lechalam Void. So that's the Meile in Baruch Shem. And that's why it's Belachaj, because that is, as the Alter Rebbe said in Kulatera, because it's from the Indian for Nitzchius is Implimius Alev. Alma Discassia. So from that we understand what is the Meile of Beis Kislev. The Dafke Beis Kislev, not only the Sforim are Nitzchius of the Rebbe in Elam Hazeh, but the way the Sforim came back, we see how everything from the Rebbe is so betachlis adiyuk, and every answer we have to study. Because the Rebbe says, V'kal le'ovin, he says, one day you will understand, V'kal le'ovin, that the Rebbe meant that these books are the Nitzchius for Rebbe in Elam Hazeh, therefore it's worth to go on Mesiras Nefesh, and the way to bring the books is also has to be belachash, because that's the Le'elam Void from Baruch Shem in the Eifen Nitzchi. And Taka we saw, as we always know about Luchas Shnias, the famous question, why is Simchas Torah after Yom Kippur, not after Shavuos? And the answer Chassidus is, because Luchas Shnias, the Simchas Torah, when is the Bril Simcha of Matan Torah is not on after Shavuos from Luchas Rishonos, Davke after Luchas Shnias. The same thing we saw, when did the Rebbe say Gut Yom Tev for the Dan Notzach was only Beis Kislev Memtes. Beis Kislev Memtes, there was Rosh Chodesh Kislev, was one day. The Rebbe spoke both nights in his house. The first night, Leil Rosh Chodesh Kislev Memtes, the Rebbe spoke all sicher about Chodesh Kislev, is a Chassidische Chodesh, Beisrim Vivrocha, and the whole thing at the Chassidische Chodesh von Yitas Kislev, Magid Yelule, and then he said about Yitas Kislev, and then he said, when everyone could find what are the days of Kislev, like, everyone knows there is so many Chassidische days from the Rebbe, Yidalat Kislev, Rosh Chodesh Kislev. Everything said, everyone, you could all figure it out, the days. And he went on and on. But no good Chodesh, no good Yom Tov. Came the next night, Leil Beis Kislev, there was a siyum, Sefer Torah of the Rebbetzin, the Neshei Chabad made. It was a big thing. The Rebbe was asking that Neshei Chabad should be able to see his Sicher. He moved the stand there. And then the Rebbe didn't give dollars. He gave them the dollars that they should give out. And the Rebbe entered the Sicher, very unusual. Usually the Rebbe enters the Sicher, B'Korah Mamesh, Mashiach. The Rebbe entered the Sicher, Agut Chodesh and Agut Yom Tov. That was Eile Beis Kislev. And then, Reb Shir Pinsa made an announcement. The first announcement was, dass geht sein, dass 770 and 770 von der Rebbetzin. Then was the second announcement. What was the second announcement? And he was like, you could see how he's shaking in his voice. The Vada Mesader is Media, dass geht sein, Farbrengen from Beis Kislev, that the books are coming back. And we're going with the Rebbe gehissen, we get lernen. We get lernen der Chamunim, we get lernen der Rebbe's reden, lernen and lernen and lernen. And he goes on and on. And he's like afraid, what's going to be the reaction? And finally, it's going to be 10 o'clock at night. And then he says, morgen zum Daven, 10 Zeger. Typically, the Rebbe walks out after the Achozes. The Rebbe looks in the Elam, and the Rebbe says, Agut Chodesh, and Agut Yom Tov, and Atzloch Rabba. Like, calm down, it's okay. You can Farbrengen. And then later, as we all know, Hey Teves Memches, the old Sturm, there was Mizol Yemach and Farbrengen, Nishmach Farbrengen, and Rebiel was very against that. And everyone was nervous, and the Bochem felt, how could you pass Hey Teves Ameka Farbrengen? It's unthinkable. And there was at the time, everyone knows, there was another Vad Lemimrush, from the Farbrengen, Sidus Vadias. And the Bochem decided it must be a Farbrengen no matter what. And we put up a sign, a big sign, everyone could see the picture. And Rebiel was coming in 770, and he screamed to take the sign down. And there was a whole fight, and we ran to whoever Chassidishim were there, Marlo, yes, they said yes. It was a whole fight, and there was a Yid that came from Montreal with a whole group of kids, and he was helping. He told the kids to go took the sign down. So I got to shmir of the sign till Shabbos. And when the Rebbe came in Friday night, everyone was nervous, and the Rebbe came in, and after davening, the Rebbe comes in. The sign was in the back where the paramita was from the Bochem. The Rebbe came out of the shul. That's when was the moment. The Rebbe came out, he looked up to the sign. So now we know the Rebbe knows. We'll wait for the Mahal for the Farbrengen. The Farbrengen started, everybody was involved with that sign, was very scared what's going to be, especially after Beis Kislev. Lepoel, the Rebbe started Farbrengen with those words. Azevi mit ausgerufen, mi auf dem Wand, in der Even Pesum Menisse, and the kids were covering the sign. So the Rebbe picked himself up to look at the sign. As he said it, darf man fragen bei des Forum. So we all dived in. Oh, no, what's going to be? But the Poel Mamish, it was by des Forum. But the Rebbe started to say, Asay Yisrotzen, on Ayom is called Benaisim, and say Yisgule. And then before he gave the Mashke, the Rebbe made all Arichas. And the Rebbe said that es geht sein halt bei Nacht, Eis Vadel verbunden mit der Notzach. Beferisch. And he said, und das war dem Mefen von Avas Yisrael und Achdes Yisrael. Und this Vater could be pale noch mehr wie Malach Michael. Famous word from the Alter Rebbe. And then the Rebbe said, what haben wir checken mit Malach Michael? What do we have to start with Malach Michael? What do we have to tease Malach Michael? And the Rebbe said, Malach Michael is gematri, Michael is gematri Kuf Aleph. If you take the name Michael, it's gematri Kuf Aleph. And Kuf Aleph means the ultimate of the brochas. And the Rebbe said, und nach Chassidische Farbrengen, of this Farbrengen, Mamsh say mehr wie Malach Michael, noch mehr brochas. And the Rebbe gave the mashke, and then after we sent in a report to the Rebbe, Rabbi Katzman, who was the head of the Vad Siduris Vadis from the Mimush, he sent in the Rebbe's duch, he signed it, and the Rebbe answered the answer, Niskabel, v'tshuaschein, ubiyeser, which is the unusual ubiyeser. That means the Rebbe definitely accepted the Farbrengen, and that's the only time the Rebbe said, Gut Yom Tev for Hey Teves. So just to conclude, as this inyan from Bechashoi is be'etzem the ganze foundation of Chassidus Chabad started with that inyan from Bechashoi. And the ganze Nitzchius, the eternity of the Rabbeim, started with Bechashoi. Everyone knows that the Baal Shem Tov said, the Friedrich Rebbe brings in his Siches, the Baal Shem Tov said that the Alter Rebbe is an Neshama Chadosha. And the Baal Shem Tov said that he was looking in the Yecholes Lemailo to find the Neshama Chadosha, and he couldn't find it. Why? Because when the Neshama Chadosha comes Lamato, they're hiding the Neshama Chadosha for years, for 3 years before it's come down, from Malochim or from everyone. They're hiding it, Bechashoi. And even the Baal Shem Tov couldn't find it, and he didn't know who is going to be his Talmid who will have that Neshama. And the Friedrich Rebbe explains, and then the Rebbe explained in several Farbrengen, Sai, Chayel, Tov Shin Lamed Gimel, everyone could look up in the Sicha, and Sai in the Shabbos Mevorchem Iyar, Tov Shin Yud Beis, when the Rebbe asked to sing the Gimel Tnuis, was a very special Farbrengen. Everyone knows the Chassidim called it that Shabbos HaGodel. The Rebbe asked to sing the Nigun from Gimel Tnuis, and then the Rebbe said to sing the Alter Rebbe's Nigun again and again. And even after the Farbrengen, the Rebbe continued, when he stood by the wall by Minche, continued to sing that Nigun. And the Rebbe said, why is this Nigun, why is the Alter Rebbe's Tnuah more important? Because das negeht zu uns, it's important to us, Chassidei Chabad, because the Alter Rebbe hat mamshir given a nice von Atzmus. But the Alter Rebbe was megale, a new thing from Atzmus. What did that mean? So the Rebbe explains, in Kudas Yenosh Tez Chassidus, in the Aore of the Neshama Chadosha, you could look it up, and then the Rebbe said it, Chayel Lamed Gimel, that Neshama Chadosha is not the Pshat, a new soul that never was begilgul in Elam Hazeh. But Neshama Chadosha means, as the Alter Rebbe says in Shir HaShirim, in the Maimer, that the Arizal says that there are two kinds of Neshamas. There is a Gilui Lakus in the world that came from Odom Orishan till Moshiach, and that's from Chitzenis Atik. And then there is a Gilui Lakus in the world that will come from Mashiach, which is Pnimius Atik. And the Alter Rebbe says, what is a neshama chadosha? It's a neshama from Pnimius Atik, a neshama from Mashiach. So that is what Chassidus Chabad is all about. It's a neshama from Mashiach, from Pnimius Atik. And as the Alter Rebbe said in Kudetere, why is Luchas Shnius going to be eternal? Because Atik and Lehefsek. That when there is a Gilui from Pnimius Atik, it can't stop. It must go. It's eternity. Everything else could have hefsek. Luchas Reshenes could be broken. But when it comes to a Gilui from Pnimius Atik, nothing could stop in this way. That's a Gilui that goes and goes. And that's the entire Chassidus Chabad. And as the Rebbe says, the Rebbe said in Yud Beis, that at Mamshech a nice von Atzmus, it was Mamshech a new Gilui von Atzmus, Pnimius Atik, and a Mamshech given at the race of Achav. That all the Rabbeim after that are the same neshama, as the famous word from the Rebbe many times. Malamokim means that it's the same neshama. That all the Rabbeim are neshamas from Pnimius Atik, and the Rebbe Sfiras Hamachos, the Eila the Keser, that he brings the Gilui from Atik Lemato. So that's a Gilui Atzma. So we have to understand what is really the Dan Notzach. The Dan Notzach means as Faran a Gilui Lakus in Vel from Rebbe, and that Gilui Lakus cannot stop, and nobody could be in its way. And as we've seen the last 30 years, as Rabbi Shem Tov mentioned before, as Mizet now Bemuchash, as the article that was now about Hanukkah, everyone knows that there was a zettel from Rebbe to a Shliach 45 years ago. And the Shliach wrote to the Rebbe that ADL, which is a famous organization, Abe Faxman was the head of the ADL, that they came out against his menorah, his public menorah, and he's asking the Rebbe what to do. Should he still do it? And the Rebbe wrote to him 45 years ago. The Rebbe wrote to him that he should find people who know him personally. He should not make a war against him. And he should find people who know him personally, and he should tell him that since he was Yetze with the Machor, which means all the Jewish organization were against that, so he has to be part of it. But deep in his heart, he definitely wants that Jewish kids around the world should remember the Maccabees who fought the dictators at the time. And the Rebbe ends the zettel, Le'eis Ato, that's the only way to remind them about their Yiddishkeit. And everyone knows there was just now an article, and they interviewed Abe Faxman, and he said, yes, I made a mistake. The Rebbe was right. The Hanukkah Menorahs was the right thing for American Jewry, for all Jews around the world. As we all know, now we have 20,000 public menorahs all over the world, and we could only imagine, we see clearly the Rebbe's Arbet is going, but nothing could stand in front of Atzmos as Pnimius Atik Gilui, that he can't stop it. And that's what the Frierdiker Rebbe said several times, Erev Rosh Hashanah, that the Baal Shem Tov said that the Alter Rebbe got a haftocha before he came to this world, that he will have Gilui of Etzem HaNeshama do Lemato, he'll have Gilui Pnimius Atik do Lemato. That's our Rabbeim. That was their unique from every other tzaddik ever was, because they came from Pnimius Atik, and that Gilui Lakus Ele Hefsek cannot be stopped. It will continue till Mashiach, and every second we are becoming closer to the Gilui Mashiach Bekorah Mamish. L'chaim, l'chaim.